On my last video, a few people asked for a bike check. So this is my mountain bike. I haven't done a bike check for this one yet. Starting with the frame, it's a Trek Fuel EX carbon model. I have it set up mullet, so the Minolink is in the high position just to balance the bike out with that smaller back wheel. I should say that I am 155 pounds, 5'7.5", size medium frame. Moving on to suspension. On the rear, it's just the stock Fox float that came with the bike. No extra spacers or anything in that. I do run it in the progressive position though. They have that flip chip down there. So instead of running spacers, I was able to just experiment between the more linear and more progressive settings on the frame. I liked the progressive setting. I also added a low speed compression knob to the top. I just felt like I was getting bogged down in the corners, so adding some low speed compression helped keep the ride height a little bit higher. Compression knob in the rear is set just 2 from closed, so it's fairly stiff. Rebound, you're looking at 6 from closed. So that's actually what Trek recommends for that amount of pressure in the rear shock. In the rear shock, there is 170 PSI. I found that to be just the right pressure for me. I bottom it out just about every run at Camp Fortune or Mont Ste. Marie or anywhere. But it's not harsh, and at that pressure, 170, I get decent compliance off the top, so the rear wheel tracks the ground nicely. In the front, 73 PSI. RockShox Lyric, Buttercups, 29. Got the RC2 damper in there. It's pretty much the best fork. Nothing I would change about that, but I am curious about the Zeb. I'd like to try a Zeb to see if there's a noticeable difference in stiffness and in vibration damping. Just because I did ride Whistler and the braking bumps, they got to my wrists to the point where I couldn't hold on anymore and I had to cut the day short because my wrists were toast.
Good.
Would a Zeb be better? I don't know. I really like a fast fork. It helps me when I'm compressing for a bunny hop. It helps me lift the front wheel. I have the rebound closed just 1 click from open. I do have wrist issues, so if the fork is packing up on successive hits, it really affects my wrists. I want it to fully extend to absorb that next hit as quick as possible. I have no issue controlling this in berms or in heavy compressions, even though the rebound is just 1 click from open. It's not an issue. It's more about the initial impact that I want it to be as soft as possible. Compression, right in the middle for both high speed and low speed. Sometimes if I'm doing jump lines, I'll close the compression on the fork just a little bit because the rear is set up so firm. The front, if it's not set up as firm, I start to go over the bars on jumps. So I'll close both the high speed and the low speed compression, a couple clicks, if I'm hitting jump trails. In the fork, 70 PSI, I recently lowered it because I wasn't bottoming it out nearly as often as the rear. So I just wanted to make sure I was using all that travel. It's set up at 160 millimeter right now, so that's what the bike is designed for. 160 front, 140 rear. Onto the drivetrain, SRAM GX Axis, the old model. This was before transmission came out. I really want to try the transmission. The downside to this version is that it bounces around a lot and it makes a lot of noise, that rear derailleur. I added a folded up tube to the chainstay to try to dampen some of the chain slap noise, but a lot of the noise is coming from the derailleur itself, just bouncing around, so I can't really get rid of it. I have had a few annoying chain drops as of late as well, so maybe a new T-type drivetrain is in my future. I do love the wireless shifting though. I don't have to deal with cables anymore. It has internal down tube storage, so in there I keep everything I need to change a tube and fix most parts on my bike. I actually keep an extra battery for the rear derailleur in my down tube, as well as an extra battery for the shifter, so that I'm never gonna run out of power when I'm riding. The cassette is a top-of-the-line SRAM cassette that I got on sale. I'm running 3250 as my granny gear, which is okay with a 27.5 inch rear wheel. Yeah, I am huffing and puffing on some of the steep long climbs, but it works. Front part of the drivetrain, there is a SRAM Descendant crank, or I guess, was it Truvative at the time? I don't know. Truvative Descendant, Troy Lee Designs carbon crank. It's getting up there in age now, and I don't know how much I trust it anymore just because it's carbon, and I've bashed it on rocks a lot. There's lots of marks and scratches on it. Attached to those cranks are the pedals. Deity T-Mac pedals from BMX, trials, dirt jumper to this bike. It's the best pedal I've ever found. Deity did come out with a new flat pedal recently that is a little bit lighter but has a similar platform. I'm curious to try that, but these guys last forever. I don't know if I'm ever going to get the opportunity to try a new pedal because I'm not going to break these. Rear hub, this was a key upgrade for me. Industry 9 Hydra hub with the 600 engagement points. I actually quieted it down a little bit just by putting some thicker Paul grease in there because a very loud hub gets to me a little bit. On the chain, there is muck off dry chain lube. You have to apply it almost every ride, but the chain doesn't get dirty. So I've kind of settled on dry lube. Moving on to wheels. I guess I already spoke about that rear hub, but laced to it is a Bontrager Line 30 carbon rim. Lifetime warranty on those guys. I have broken 2 of them, and Trek came through both times, sent me a brand new wheel. Speaking of destroying wheels, I am running Cush Core, both front and rear. Right now it's the trail version, but I do have a pro version that I'm going to run in the back relatively soon. Since I've been running Cush Core, I have not destroyed a wheel, which is amazing. And I've also lowered my tire pressures a little bit. On the front, I'm running 21 PSI, and on the back, there is 26 PSI in there. And that is enough to keep the tires from folding in the corners, but low enough, specifically in the front, to give me maximum grip. A note about running Cush Core on Bontrager rear rims, the carbon rims, they come with a plastic rim strip in there. There's no space to run the Cush Core with that plastic rim strip. You gotta rip it out. I put in some stance tape. That gave me enough room to run the Cush Core. There is an Azagai Max Terra tire on the back, and the reason why I run a slightly harder compound as the back is purely for wear. If you see the wear on the back tire, you'll understand it just wears down a lot quicker because that's where all your drive is coming from. And I skid a lot when I'm going down slabs. I know it's not good protocol, but you get scared, it happens. Both tires are 2.5 in width. You guys might be surprised to learn that I'm just running EXO Plus front and rear for casing on the tires. I do have a double down casing DHR2 that I'm going to put on the back soon. I am excited to see if it helps with tire squirm. In the front, the EXO Plus has been fine in a 2.5. In a 2.6 it sucks, but the 2.5, it's light and it's not squirming on me, and I have not cut the sidewalls or punctured the tire on it. Yes. The front wheel is a Bontrager hub laced to a Stan's Flow rim. I went aluminum on the front, 29er for maximum grip and a little bit of compliance compared to the carbon rear rim. The rear rim is something that I can bash and it always stays straight. The front rim is something that's more compliant so that it grips, because there's nothing worse than losing the front end. Pretty much my entire front end is set up for maximum grip. The front tire is an Azagai in the Max Grip compound, the soft compound. I am always going to run the grippiest, softest tire on the front. It's not worth cheating there for better wear rate. I just want the maximum grip that I can get. This tire has been on there for most of the season, still has quite a bit of knob left, so it shows you my riding style. I'm light on the front wheel, heavy on the back. Moving on to the stoppers. SRAM code RSCs. Lever angle, fairly flat. Coming from a trials background, I used to run them tipped down quite a bit because I was always on the back wheel. However, when you're going down steep terrain and you're heavy on that front brake, you don't want your wrists to be bent forwards because it puts all the weight on your thumbs. It really hurts then when your wrist rolls over the front when you hit a bump. HS2 rotors, front and rear, 200 millimeter, gives me enough stopping power. They're stiff. I did have some issues with overheating on very steep tracks, and the power, I wouldn't go any less. I have had just about every SRAM brake in the past, and the codes were the only ones that had enough power for me. That's why I have the RCs on there now. After I bought these, the SRAM Mavens came out. I really want to try those out. I think those might be my brake. Metallic pads, front and rear. Like I said, these brakes are slightly underpowered, so metallic pads, HS2 rotors, combine those two things together, you get a good brake. I run the contact all the way out. I think just about everybody does. When you dial the contact in, even with a fresh bleed, it gets pretty darn close to the handlebar. Bar, stem, and grips are all Deity. The stem is 35 millimeters long, super short. I'm a short guy and I ride over the back. Bar, 35 mil diameter, so it's super stiff. I would like to try a 31.8 at some point and see if it helps my wrist issues. The grips, Deity grips, softest, nicest feeling grip I've ever had. I am stuck on Deity for the rest of my life for grips. They're amazing. What bar roll do I ride? It's pretty vertical now. It was tipped forward a little bit just because I ride a lot of trials and it just felt weird having them rolled back. But then I watched Dakota Norton ride with his super tall bars and laid back style, and that convinced me to roll them back a little bit. It feels really good when you get into the steeps. 2.5 centimeters of stem spacers underneath that, and I think the bar is also 2.5 centimeter rise, so it's not the tallest front end, but for my size at 5'7", it works pretty darn well. I don't think I'd go too much taller. 180 mil, 1-up dropper post, and a Bontrager Verse saddle. Dropper post is the tallest dropper that I can run with my short legs in this frame. It's actually slammed just all the way down right now. You can see there's a little bit sticking out. The way I set up my controls is a little different to most people. I have to have one finger braking. I can't handle clipping my middle finger knuckle when I brake. It's the worst thing in the world. So I run the levers pretty far in. On top of that, the SRAM Matchmaker mount that allows me to mount the shifter and the dropper post lever, I actually run the right on the left and the left on the right so that it pushes the controls even further in. And I have really big thumbs, so when I'm pulling my thumbs out to use the controls, I don't want my knuckle clipping the controls on the way out. So I run them super far inboard so that my hands have enough space to work. I am having some headset noises. I just recently installed a new headset with brand new cups. Inside the cups, there was some wear from that headset possibly being run loose. I don't know if I was running it loose or if the headset just had some issue with it that wasn't allowing it to tighten down properly. Anyways, I just installed a new one. We'll see how that goes. Overall, the bike has been sick. Changes that I want to make. Of course, T-type drivetrain. I also want to try a coil shock on the rear to see if I can get a little more small bump compliance. And if any of you guys have tried a coil shock on a Fuel EX, let me know your weight and what spring rate you're running and how you like it. That's it. That's my bike check. This is the mountain bike that I've been riding in all of my POV videos this year. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think I should change. What should I keep? Am I doing something stupid with my suspension settings? Let me know. Thanks.